While taking care of your physical health is absolutely a huge priority, equally as important is taking care of your mental health. Having your mental health in check is extremely important, especially with these polarizing times in our world. We especially need to normalize taking care of mental health in the world of music. For many years, we've heard the tragic stories of musicians and others in that space who have succumbed to mental health challenges when they otherwise felt there was nowhere else to turn. For more information and how to support this cause, visit Live Beyond on Instagram at live.beyond27 or on Facebook at Beyond27. Thank you for your support. Welcome to the latest edition of the NBA show. I'm your host, Earnest EJ Christian, as we have now approached technically a tad past the midseason point of the NBA season. But we want to do our awards here. Of course, joined here every time we do the show with our man, Greg Hrinya, author, analyst, and a good friend at this point now. Greg, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Happy birthday to you, first off. And you celebrated birthday a couple days ago.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Very kind of you.
So that's what, are you now, 30, 20, 39?
Yeah.
Almost there, buddy. Almost there. But yeah, I'm way ahead of you, though. Well, not way ahead. I'm 45, but yeah, 40's not, I'll tell you what, the 40's not bad, though. The 40's not that bad, actually. So we're going to do letter grades to all three teams in the NBA, where they're at now currently, as of this recording. And then on midseason awards, we'll give you surprises, disappointments, rookie of the year, coach of the year, sixth man of the year, defensive player of the year so far, and MVP. But before we get started, I want to talk to you about the bombshell article that dropped yesterday on ESPN by Baxter Holmes, which is centering around the sale of the Lakers that happened last summer in June. Mark Walters, of course, is the majority owner of the Lakers, and the Buss family, of course, has owned that team for over 40 years. Jerry started with Jerry Buss, and then went on to Jim, then Jeannie, and all that, and the family. And there's a lot of it's a very detailed article, of course, and it details not just obviously the sale, how it went through, but also the lead up to it and everything that's happened in post Jerry Buss's passing in 2013. And I think I told you before the show, one of the things, the reason I was kind of already familiar with a lot of things that was going on, what was happening with the family was and the infighting was because there's a documentary that came out on Hulu on the Lakers, which I actually covered on the show actually a couple years ago. And the thing about that documentary I loved was that they were all featured. Most of the siblings was featured. Gene was in there, and Jim's in there, and it was pretty forward and pretty transparent about what all the drama was about. So I was already kind of familiar with some of the stories in there. But there's some other tidbits in there too, also, in addition to what we learned on that documentary. Jeannie also allegedly was getting a little tired of LeBron James and his ego, and he felt like he was ungrateful, for being a Laker, and even touted the idea of possibly trading him to the Clippers or not giving an extension at one point. Ultimately, she took the better side and stuck with him and gave him an extension, and obviously they drafted Bronny, but even when she drafted Bronny, she felt like he wasn't grateful for that. So the Lakers, the Lakers are the biggest brand in the NBA. They're definitely the Mount Rushmore brands in sports in this country. Okay, without question. $10 billion is a lot of money for a franchise. Now, I don't think you read the entire article, but you are familiar with the story. Sure. What are your thoughts about all this when you heard this?
I mean, it seems kind of dysfunctional, but I guess when you've got so many chefs in the kitchen, it's hard to get everybody on board. I always say that you get 10 people in a room, you can't even get them all to agree on the color of the sky. So, I mean, I get that there's a challenge there. I guess I'm looking at it more from a basketball perspective. The LeBron stuff was pretty interesting, and I mean, I guess once you start making moves for spite and for ego, you've got a pretty big challenge there. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Jerry Buss knew that this was going to be a challenge, 15 years ago.
He should have known that, though, too. Also, you have 6 siblings, you have 6 children, 4 from one person, 2 from another. There's already a lot of like drama even before he passed away, and he tried to every which way to make it worth figure out the money if they decide to sell or whatever they want to do. It's all fair and whatnot, but I guess the big issue was like who's running the team, and Jim initially was running the team at first, and then Jeannie took over I think in 2016, fired Jim in 2017. Then he sued her. She filed a restraining order against him and countersued him. She won the case. There's so much drama. It is literally watching Succession on HBO. Literally playing out for our eyes. And the funny thing too is that all this stuff is public. It's transparent. It's not hidden. There's no like PR, padding here. It's literally out there in the open. So the Buss family stuff is actually, I find this a little more interesting. The LeBron stuff, of course, you had the things about the Bronny thing, and then drafting him, and then Gene not feeling not grateful. There's also the part too where when the Lakers acquired Russell Westbrook, and then they that fell apart. Of course, that one year he was there, and then LeBron didn't take. She was mad because LeBron didn't take enough accountability for that action, even though he's the one that wanted Westbrook. And then when that didn't work out, he just kind of walked away from it. And Gene was pissed about that. Kind of shows you that the power LeBron James still, even in his later years, still did have. Kind of shows you how powerful this guy is.
Well, he's a brand of himself. I mean, when you get into that business, I mean, you look at some of these teams across the league. You look at why their fans were so upset when they got rid of Luka. It's like that's a brand, that's a ticket seller. So when you get into the LeBron business, you're going to have to deal with some of the drama that comes along with it in order to sell tickets and to be that global brand. I mean, like you see with Giannis and Milwaukee, the reason why they don't want to get rid of him is because they know that the arena is going to be 3/4 empty once they do. So, I mean, unfortunately, with like major star players, you're going to have to deal with some stuff. I guess you'd think that he would have been a little more grateful about the Bronny stuff. I guess I could understand that because he hasn't really shown himself to be an NBA player, maybe a solid G League player. But I mean, for him to be drafted, I think that was a good nod to him. But I mean, the other stuff, that's just what comes along with having a star, selling tickets, and being competitive every year.
Yeah. I will say that any leverage that LeBron probably had back when, 4 years ago when all this stuff started happening, I think it's gone now. I don't think the Lakers even want him beyond this year. Like if they could trade him for something, they probably would do it. But at this point, I don't think any trade they make at this point right now is going to make them even better than OKC or San Antonio. So I think, and I said this, before the year started, ride this out one more year with LeBron and just let him walk. Don't even entertain an extension. Don't entertain anything else. This is Luka's team now, and then you move forward from there. And I think this is definitely LeBron's last year in LA, without question. I think no one questions that whatsoever. I would be stunned if they come to an agreement for another year or so, just for forever, because you can't have that guy as good as he's still really good at 41 years old, but you can't have that guy clog up your cap. Especially the team where you have Luka and there's a window there for Luka. Especially now with the Spurs and the Thunder and the Nuggets, all Rockets, all better than they are right now currently. You have to build around Luka, and LeBron does actually affect that in a negative way at this point.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really makes sense from LeBron's standpoint, whether it's with the Lakers, whether it's with any other team, Cleveland, Philadelphia, whomever, is signing like a mid-level type deal, signing some sort of sweetheart, low money deal to jump onto a team that's ready to contend for a championship. Because if he's got 40, 50 million clogging up the cap, you can't have one of your best players being 41 years old at that point. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I mean, I can safely say the Lakers are not going to be paying him 40 or 50 million next year.
No. I wonder, because here's the thing with LeBron. I still think he's better than a mid-level exception, even at 41 years old.
Oh, totally. No. For his standpoint, from his standpoint, it would just be to assemble a better chance at winning a title. It wouldn't be what he's worth. Like if he's trying to get
Absolutely.
50 million, I don't know where the team that's giving him 50 million. I mean, is it the Wizards? Is it the Nets? Like, I'd imagine at this point he's got to be more concerned about winning a title in his last year than just getting one more payday. So,
and I do think there are options out there still for LeBron, viable options. Now, I don't know if it gets them closer to a title, maybe a little bit closer, marginally. But at this point, there are certain teams right now, I believe, are just right now way ahead of the curb. And I just mentioned the Thunder, the Spurs, ahead of the curb, and they're young, And if you're a team going for LeBron, you don't trade for him. You just sign him off outright on the offseason because don't give him any assets. You need those assets to build. So,
yeah. And LeBron's always been very close with Popovich, so you wonder if that would be a good spot for him in San Antonio, given that they've got some guys like Barnes and Keldon Johnson. They've got some salaries that could, in theory, make that work, and then you put him around all those young guys.
Which contending team can you see him going to that makes sense, where he doesn't fuck up the rotation, I guess? San Antonio, I feel like he'll fuck it up a little bit. Denver, I don't know about Denver, though. I feel like Denver might actually work.
Maybe. I still think the way he plays, he can fit in a lot of different places. But I mean, you're still having to defer ball handling duties to him a lot. Like they want to run through Jokic. So does it make sense to have LeBron there and you're running through LeBron when they really should be running through Jokic?
Yeah.
Like like to run that 2-man game with Jokic and Murray. Would that be ideal? The reason I guess I just thought of San Antonio was because he could be a facilitator to help get Wemby the ball in his spot.
Definitely. Another team I'll think about too also, the Rockets. You go for broke at this point. You really can't get much better. LeBron be the only guy you could probably sign for a lesser deal to fit under the numbers necessary to make it work. Play with him and KD. And you get Van Vliet back next year. I can see that as an option for LeBron, the Rockets.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. I mean, him and KD, that would certainly be something worth tuning in for. So, I think there's a bunch of places that he could play. It's just how is that going to work?
I'm looking at in terms
of, and what is he willing to take?
I'm looking at it in terms of championship opportunities. Not in terms of he can play any of these teams, but not every team's a championship opportunity.
Yeah, you're limiting it to 6 to 8 teams basically at that point.
Right, Minnesota. I'm thinking about maybe Warriors. Obviously, Warriors will be a Hail Mary, but at this point now, but. Even with the Warriors, it wouldn't put him in contention, in my opinion. We'll talk about Jimmy in a second when we get to the Warriors and the grades, but I think even with LeBron going to the Warriors helps marginally.
Well,
in terms of winning a title.
If they were to trade Butler, use that $54 million cap hit, and then open up that space, let's say they trade him for 3 or 4 players, then you get LeBron signing on like a minimum or a mid-level or something. And you still have Steph. You still have Draymond, like that could be.
Oh, we'll get there because
it would take a lot of movement.
We'll get there because I have questions about the Warriors. I'm gonna save a nice section of time for the Warriors in the grades because I have questions about that. I did a little mini podcast on Tuesday on my other show Unfiltered about the options they have, and I'm gonna present those to you as well too in a second. All right, let's get to the midseason level grades. All 30 teams. We're gonna go in alphabetical order. All right, so the first team here is the Atlanta Hawks, who right now currently are 21-25. What grade are you giving them?
I'm giving them a C-.
Me too. Good job.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Likewise. I thought that they'd be better than this. I mean, I think Vegas had them as 4th prior to the year to win the East. So right after, they actually had them, I guess, the Knicks, the Cavs. I think it was then the Magic and the Hawks. So, for them to be 4 games under 500 in a pretty lousy Eastern Conference, kind of banged up. They wind up moving off of Trae Young for basically a salary dump. Now, again, I'm not a fan of Trae Young's game, so I right. like that deal. But even still, here's a guy who 2 years ago you probably could have gotten a Godfather haul for, and 2 years later he's basically a salary dump. So
yeah.
The one saving grace for them, or 2 saving graces, that they have that Pelicans pick unprotected going into the draft next year. So, that's a reason for optimism. That doesn't help them on the floor this year, though. And they have Jalen Johnson, who's going to be an all-star. one of the better young players in the league. And outside of that, Ricochet hasn't really popped. Porzingis has been in and out of the lineup. Dyson Daniels has regressed, I would say. I guess his numbers are okay, but he gives them nothing shooting the three. I think the defense is down a little bit. So pretty average team to be in the play-in the East when the expectations were a little loftier. I don't know, a little disappointing. So C-.
Yeah, and I would have gone D, but because they're able to get off the Trae Young without giving anything else and get maximum players at least, I think is a good thing for them. Because we knew that the Trae Young thing would have been the be-all, end-all at this point. Yeah. Should it have been a little better, in my opinion? Yes. In the weaker East, you thought maybe Trae Young can actually re-salvage his career one more year in Atlanta, be a little better than they are, but no. And then, but at least a C- because they got rid of Trae Young, because that was the problem at this point. So kudos to them for doing that. All right, next team here, we have the Boston Celtics, who right now currently are 27-16 and number 2 in the East.
For me, that was an A.
Same here.
I'm not going to say an A+ because I don't know that they can ultimately win a title. Mm-hmm. But considering that many people thought this was a gap year, no Tatum, they moved off of Porzingis, they moved off of Jrue Holiday. It seemed like they were just going to play out the string, maybe trade Derek White. This looked like it could have been a total teardown. And Missoula had other ideas. Jaylen Brown has played at an MVP level, 30 points pretty much every single night, and doing it well too. It's not as if he's taking 35 shots every game to get 30 points. I mean, he's been efficient. Defensively, they've been good. Offensively, they've been good. Very surprising. They've gotten contributors from places that you wouldn't have expected. Neemias Queta, Josh Minot, Luka Garza, guys that basically are just throwaways from other teams who have been pretty big impact players for them. I think the job that Missoula's done has been fantastic. So I think that's an easy A for me. And they could get Tatum back. So I mean,
that's the big one.
If he comes back in March, even if he doesn't come back, they've still had an incredible season, considering people thought they were going to tank for a lottery pick. So I mean, the idea that they could be getting Tatum back and be a 3 seed going into the playoffs, they could be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and the fact that you got a guy in Jaylen Brown who has risen to the challenge, who's right now in the MVP discussion, he's definitely top 3 for me. I actually, to be honest with you, based on, especially if Jokic can't qualify for it, he'd be number 2 for me on my MVP rankings, honestly. He's played very, very well this year. Missoula, great job this year. Definitely a coach of the year candidate for me as well. Just a gap in my ass, because you're right. We thought they would be, not they'd be fall off the earth.
We thought
they'd be close to 500.
We thought they'd be like Indiana, not that bad, but we thought that they'd basically take the year off, get a draft pick, and then bring everybody back next year. And
I thought they'd be a 500 team. They're not a 500 team. They're better than 500.
No.
So, and that's the thing. So this is an A for me as well too. Also, I'm really stunned and proud. I'm not a Celtic fan, obviously, but what they've done this year, in spite of having Tatum, and look, and you may get Tatum back this year in the wide open East, and it's in the East that the Knicks should be running away with. They're not. They're struggling. The East is even more wide open now, and I think now the question. I mean, I know the Boston Celtics wanted Tatum to rest the rest of the year. That was the plan, but there's a sieve there. Do you take advantage of it?
But even if Tatum comes back, I still feel like they're probably another piece away from winning a title, because they got rid of Holiday, because they got rid of Porzingis.
True. I agree with you on that.
You're not really replacing those guys. I mean, Simons has been great. He's played it.
He's been fantastic. He killed us. Yeah. He killed us last week.
Yeah, I mean, he's really been, and I never understood why they were talking about dumping him to get out of the luxury tax. I'm like, he was pretty good in Portland. So
it's a bad team. That's all.
Yeah. And I mean, look, he's not a perfect player, but he can go for 38 points on a given night. So 38, 39 points, whatever it was. So, I mean, he's good. I think he's perfect coming off the bench for them. Pritchard stepped up well. I just wonder if they could use a more reliable big man or another tandem big man.
You say not winning the title this year, and I agree with you, because I don't think anyone in the East was winning the title regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. But with Tatum, can they at least get to the finals? Constructed. I said, there you go. So that's why I bring him back.
Yeah.
If they can win the East, I say, okay, then fine, stay away. But if you win the East with Tatum right now, currently constructed with the current environment in the Eastern Conference, I say bring him back. So, yeah. All right, next team here, the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently, if I can see this quick,
12-30.
12-30, yep, 12-30 and 13th in the East.
My grade, this is where we're probably going to start parting, but I give them a B+. I think that this is exactly what they were going for. This is where they wanted to be. You know, the argument could be that they're not bad enough. But I mean, they're still in that 4, 5, 6 range for the lottery. This is essentially a 4-player superstar draft. That's what they're setting themselves up for. And I mean, they've got a lot of cap space. So, I mean, let's say they walk away with a Darren Peterson. They've still got a bunch of these young guys that they're going to learn more about throughout the course of the year. And then you could always go out and sign a guy like a Peyton Watson, an Austin Reeves, something like that to fill in around some of these young players. So, I mean, I feel like they've got some flexibility to do things, and they've put themselves in position to get one of these top players because, you know, we'll talk about it more as March Madness comes around and the draft comes around, but like there are some real superstars.
I definitely want to dedicate some time on the next episode or two to look at the draft because I need to see what guys look at the next couple months.
Yeah, I mean, like Cooper Flagg was the lock #1 last year, but I mean, if he were in this draft, he might go 2, he might go 3. You know, I mean, like
that good, huh? That good.
Yeah, so I mean, he'd still be in the top 4, but I mean, I think the reason why he classified was because he knew Cameron Boozer's going to be there, Darren Peterson's going to be there, AJ DePonte's going to be there, and then Caleb Wilson has turned out to be much better than people would have anticipated. So, I mean, what the Nets were going for was getting one of those players. And I mean, I think that they deserve credit for putting themselves in position to get one of them since that was their goal prior to the season. You know, they're not a title contender, but they've put themselves where I think they wanted to be. The owner basically said prior to the year that, like, you know, we've only got 1 pick and we anticipate that being a high pick. So, I mean, the owner basically confirmed that they were going to tank. The big question for them is what they're going to do with Michael Porter Jr. I mean, there was a report prior to the Knicks game yesterday that they lost by 54 points.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, there was a report that Michael Porter Jr. had a little bit of an MCL sprain, a little bit of knee soreness. And I wonder if they're doing that because they're setting the stage for he's played so well that we want to keep him and have him be around a lot of these young guys that we draft and be an outlet for them. We don't want to trade him, but we also don't want to win a lot of these games against the Utahs and the New Orleans of the world. So this is sort of like their excuse for sitting down.
You should write a new book on this now.
Yeah. It's basically like what the Jazz did with Lauri Markkanen last year. You know, that they had him play very sparingly and down the stretch. Same thing with the Sixers. And, in the Sixers case, they got rewarded with Edgecombe. So I think that would probably be their plan going forward. And since they're adhering to it pretty well, solid grade. I mean, I wouldn't say any of these rookies have popped to the point of like a Cooper Flagg or a Con Knipple. So that's why I'm not giving them like an A or an A-, but it's also early for a lot of these guys. So you just have to wait and see.
Yeah. I didn't go too far off the beaten path with you on this one. I went C- because yes, they're doing, I didn't want to go to the point where I'm giving an F because they're having a bad year. They're kind of supposed to have a bad year. So I have to kind of wait on the curve, but they have shown some light here too also. Mike Porter Jr. has worked out really, really well in Brooklyn. And after at least give him credit for that, they've been competitive. Outside last night, of course, they've been competitive, a little frisky at times. So I also want to grade the work on the court as well too. So I kind of took the middle and gave him a C-. So I didn't go full failure there. So good job, baby. Right. All right, the Chicago Bulls, who right now are 21-22 and number 9 in the East.
I gave them a C. Average, right down the middle, kind of where they are every year. Basically, they're a playing team every year. Nothing changes. So they haven't surprised and been really good, and they haven't fallen apart and been really bad. Although the argument could be made they should fall apart and be really bad and give themselves finally give themselves a shot at one of these top teams, top players that's coming out of the draft. But this is their MO. They're always going to compete and be in the play-in and probably draft 12th or 13th. That's just kind of what they do. They've had some really good games. They've had some really bad games. They've got some players that'll be interesting on the trade market. You know, guys like Kobe White, does he get moved? Does someone want Vucevic, or does he want to be a buyout candidate? You know, that my guess would be they won't buy him out because he helps them be competitive.
Yeah.
But just overall, an average team, not really going where they can compete on any given night with a lot of the teams in the East. But you know, they're not a team that even if they made the playoffs, you'd expect to see them go past the first round. So
I was close. Again, B- actually, because I thought they're a lot better than I thought they'd be this year. I thought they'd be a bottom team this year in the East. Even in a wide open East, I thought they'd be one of the worst 3-4 teams in the East, and they're not that.
yeah,
The better they are, and they're actually had a good start to the year. They probably, to your point, they probably should be tanking. I hate that shit, but whatever. They probably should be tanking, but they're a lot better than I thought they'd be, honestly.
Yeah, but given that, you know, the East is as weak as it is, I'm not going to throw them bouquets for being 500 in the
no,
the
of course.
When you've got teams like Indiana and Washington and Brooklyn and so on.
Well, I also think Indiana be as bad as they were this year, even without Halliburton. So they to me, where Indiana is right now in the East, we'll get to them in a second, is where I thought Chicago would have been before the year started.
True. Yeah.
So that's why I gave a little more credit this year for that. All right, here we go. The Cleveland Cavaliers. So all these teams are like East teams. Wow. Cleveland Cavaliers, who are right now 25-20 and 5 in the East.
I give them a C+.
Ooh.
I think that the assumption was that this was their year, that they were going to be the best team in the East. And look, they very well still could be. They still could wind up coming out of the East. They have had a lot of injuries. But again, they've been quite a disappointment given that we thought there was a runway here for them to win 60 games again. You know, it's funny when we did the over-under and I said, oh, they're under for me.
I knew you're going to remind me of that. I knew you're going to remind me of that shit.
Yeah. Well, because of the injuries and also because they basically said after last year that what happens in the regular season is meaningless. It's only about what they do in the playoffs.
Correct.
And so they basically acknowledge that games in the middle of January are not all that important. So, and the fact that half the roster's been hurt. Sam Merrill's been hurt. Max Strus has been hurt. Darius Garland's been in and out of the lineup. You know, Jared Allen's missed a couple games here and there. You know, so they just haven't had continuity, consistency, and I think other teams also get up for them because they see them as one of the better teams in the East. And then you add all that together, and it's just like mediocre. But again, at 25-20, like, they could still wind up being the third seed and still wind up going to the finals. So, I mean, like, I'm not writing them off. I'm just saying that they've been underwhelming. And so that's where the C+ comes in.
Well, to me, and all those things are correct. Certainly I oversold on them because I thought they would have a 6-win season. And even with all the injuries they have, they should still be better than they are right now. In my opinion, the core guys still available. The Donovan Mitchells of the world still there, and you know whatnot, and Evan Mobley's still there. So that's why I went D+. Like, okay, fine, you're not getting 60, fine, I get that, but you're just a couple games over 500. That's still what you're better than that. You know, that's the thing for me. Even in a weak East, you should be at least where Boston's at right now, or better, even that better than Boston at this point. Yeah. I gotta accept that. So that's why it's the point for me. Having said that, everything you said is dead on. I told you weeks ago. Now I have not seen the push yet. They're playing okay, but I do expect them to be when it's all said and done. I still think they'll win 45 plus games this year. I still think they'll win close to 50. I think it would have shocked me if they crossed 50 wins this year. No, because they're getting healthier slowly. Now, the Max Strus thing, I think at this point, we may have to chalk it up to him being done for the year at this point. Yeah. But there's enough talent there. The only thing now is that which team in the East right now of the four comes down. I don't think Knicks, as bad as Knicks been recently, I don't think they're going to come down. I think Boston's for real. Detroit's obviously not going to come down. Toronto, maybe, I don't know, but Toronto's showing that they're a real team. So they could be locked in that 5 speed. Maybe they stop at Toronto. Who knows? But it also would not shock me. It would not shock me if this team does cross 48, 50 wins this year. So
yeah, I mean, just looking at that list, not to cut you off, but looking at that list, I mean, Toronto could easily drop down to the play-in. I mean, Toronto's been great, but at the same time, they've got 19 losses. Philly's got 19 losses at 6th, and Orlando's in 7th, and they're 23-19. So, I mean, it's not like Toronto is like run away. I mean, look,
Of course, yeah.
The Knicks are not out of playing range right now. I mean, they're
But I don't
only
expect them to be in the playing range. I expect them to be
no,
pulled away.
true. But I'm just saying that you get an injury here or there. Nobody, I feel like, only Detroit is kind of like a lock to be in a certain place. You know, I mean, like,
No, I agree with you 100%.
I would say that Detroit is a lock to be like a top 2 seed, but you could look at any one of these other teams and say, I could see Miami being this, the 2nd seed. I mean, they're only 5 games back of Boston.
That's crazy. That's crazy, right?
So like, the trade deadline's in 2 weeks. A team makes a move here or there. They don't have a lot of ground to make up. Not just Miami, but that goes for a bunch of teams.
Yeah. I will say of the 4 teams, the team most viable, most likely to move out of that top 4 spot is Toronto. Yeah. In my opinion. Yeah, just because of the, and it's more of a trust thing at this point now. So, all right. Finally got a Western Conference team. Dallas Mavericks, who right now are 18, 26, and number 12 in the West.
I have them at a C-. I guess
So do I.
I guess I could have gone lower. I could have gone a D, but I mean, like Cooper Flagg, I mean, to me is, I know everyone's going to say Con Knippel with Charlotte, but to me, Cooper Flagg is the rookie of the year. I mean, he's shown superstar potential.
He just teased the awards already. Look at that.
Yeah, he does everything on the floor.
But he is.
As bad as everything else has been with the Mavericks, Anthony Davis, coming into camp out of shape, then getting hurt repeatedly, Kyrie not playing, all that, the record being what it is, they still have that player to fall back on. So without Cooper Flagg, this is an F, but considering how good he's been and how optimistic you've got to be about him, I feel like you can't trash them completely.
You can't. And here's the thing. AD barely played this year. Clay's not good anymore. Kyrie hasn't played yet this year. It's kind of a miracle at 18-26, honestly. I'm not gonna lie to you. And after Cooper Flagg, the start he had the first couple weeks of the year, how he settled in, got him credit for that. So I also gave him C- as well too for the same reason. All right, next team here, the Denver Nuggets, who right now are 29-15 and number 3 currently in the West.
I have them at an A. So
I'm close to. I have an A-.
Okay, yeah. I mean, given that Jokic got hurt in a fluke play, I mean, he'll come back soon, but I would have thought that they'd be in the play-in without him. And it wasn't just him. I mean, Aaron Gordon was out. Christian Brown's been out. Cam Johnson's been out a month. Jokic has been out a month. I mean, basically, they've lost their entire roster outside of Jamal Murray, and they're a game back of 2nd in the West. I mean, I think that's shocking. And then you look at the injury report for tonight, and Valanciunas might come back, and you still have Gordon playing, Murray playing. I think they've done quite well to stay out of the play-in. Now, granted, they're only 2 in the loss out of the play-in, so I mean, it's not as if they're out of the woods.
We don't expect that, barring another major injury.
Once Jokic comes back, I think that they've also learned a lot about guys like Spencer Jones, Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson's made himself a ton of money in free agency next year, be it with the Nuggets or be it with somebody else. He's been a revelation. So I think that this has been valuable to them going forward because they found guys like Jalen Pickett, like Peyton Watson, who can contribute to winning that they might not have learned about otherwise had it just been Jokic and Murray running 2-man game and having Gordon, fill in where he could, and Cam Johnson where he could. So I think that given the injury, they've been a pretty big surprise.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's why I'm A-. And Jamal Murray's really settled in really well. He's still cross fingers. He's healthy.
Yeah.
Let's hope he stays that way for their sake. But yeah, so I gotta tell you, I thought they would fall to like 5 or 6. Well, Jokic. I mean, especially given the cannibalization between 2 and 7 right now, currently. But he's been gone since late December, and they're still holding serve.
Yeah,
that's all you can ask for, man. That's all you can ask for. So, all right, next team here we have the Detroit Pistons, who are currently 32-10 and number 1 in the East.
I gave them an A as well. I wouldn't have. I mean, I guess you could have made the argument for A+, but like I don't.
Well, I did. I'm A+. So
I don't know that they're perfectly constructed in terms of like can they win a title? I mean, they certainly can get to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
but I think, you know, there's still room for improvement. That's why I didn't give them like 100. You know, it's like if you give them a 9.5, you're still giving them room for improvement. But overall, I mean, they've been a terrific success story.
It
I
has
mean,
been.
Defensively, how hard they play. I mean, they've just out physicaled so many teams. I mean, they embarrassed the Knicks last time they played them on a back-to-back, no less, just by how tough they were. Jalen Duren has turned into a great player. Cade Cunningham is, you know,
MVP candidate.
Player. Yeah, an MVP candidate. They've got players in the right spots around them who have filled in. They've got good leadership. They've got good defense. You know, the only thing that they're really missing is shooting. But with how good they are on defense, it's kind of like OKC, where it's like OKC isn't like the perfect shooting team, but I think they can get away with it a little bit just because of how good they are on the defensive end.
They are another shooter away from really being a serious championship contender. Like where, like I can see a world where they're pushing OKC or San Antonio or Denver to 6-7 games in the finals and maybe even winning it. Because Cade Cunningham's for real. He's for real. He's here. He's right now. He's the top 10 player in the league right now, and there's an argument right now. He might be close to top 5 player now in the league. But he's playing. So I went A+ because I'm only grading based on what we've seen so far, and it's dangerous the fact that they are this good, and there's space to get better. That's the scary part. They can still get better. So that's why it's scary. So A+ for me. Great story here. Kenny Atkinson's the coach, though, right? It's Kenny Atkinson, right? Oh no.
What, of the Pistons?
Yeah.
No, it's JB Bickerstaff.
Sorry, I always get those Cleveland, Brooklyn things.
I was going to say Bickerstaff was the coach.
Atkinson's in Cleveland.
Yeah. And then switched, and Atkinson took in Cleveland. That's an easy mistake.
I still get confused all the time still. So, all right. Next team here, the Golden. Here we go. Get ready to make some room here. Golden State Warriors, who are currently, let me see. Sorry. 25-20 and number 8 in the West.
I'd give them a C. I would have given them higher had it been 3 or 4 days ago, but you lose Jimmy Butler to an ACL injury. I don't really know where they go from there. So, I mean, even if they trade all their assets and everything they've got to try and go out and get another star caliber player, you're then basically just replacing one star with another, and then you don't have any assets to go out and add around the margins. So, I mean, I feel like they're kind of stuck now. It was kind of an average season prior to that. I mean, I guess they're okay at 25-20. You know, they started out slow. The Kuminga thing, who knows? Although I did find it funny that when they were forced to put Kuminga in the game last game, he scored 20 points coming off the bench. So, I mean, you know.
Can that be repaired?
Yeah. No. It can't be repaired in Golden State. I mean, it's a good sign for somebody else trading for him.
It is, but I'll say this much, though. If the issue is Steve Kerr against Kuminga, Steve Kerr may not even be there beyond this year. There's rumors about him not coming back after this year.
True.
So maybe that could be the out for.
Although
Kuminga.
If Curry comes back, I'd imagine that Steve Kerr will be back. I feel like they're probably, jointly tied at the hip. So just my opinion. But it was good to see, again, this is a total tangent from the grades. It was just good to see Kuminga play well, considering he's been buried there. And again, not that that's translated to a ton of wins or anything like that. They lost that game, but just cool to see that he got in there and played. But in the grand scheme of things, from a grading standpoint, I think they were a team that needed to make a move to propel themselves past a B- or a B to put them in a conversation with some of these other teams like your Minnesotas and, I mean, even Phoenixes and Houstons of the world. But now that they lose an all-star caliber player, I don't know where they go from there. So
on my Unfiltered pod Tuesday or Monday night, wherever I recorded it, I laid out 4 options for the Warriors. Okay, option 1 was you go after LeBron in the offseason. Don't trade for him. Go after LeBron all season. It's an upgrade in a sense, a little upgrade, not big, but it's still marginal. It's something to keep Curry satiable for a little bit because Butler will miss at least part of next year, and if he comes back, he may not be the same guy, but still. Okay. Option 2 was if the Bucks do prioritize a expiring contract in Butler, you can trade Butler and for Giannis if possible. That would be the best thing to happen for the Bucks of the 4, obviously. Number 3 is you hope and pray Kuminga makes a jump. You repair that relationship with Kuminga. You hope and pray he makes a jump. You said 20 points in the last game played. Or option D would be obviously the one you don't want to do, but you trade Steph if he starts getting antsy.
No, I don't. Steph, I think he's won so much there that he just reminds me. I mean, he seems to me.
Totally agree with you. Here's the thing, though. Is Steph okay with being mediocre to bad for the rest of his career? That's the question. We don't know that. If he wants to win, I don't know if Golden State's place to do it anymore at this point.
Given that they've won 4 titles, I would say he's probably willing to ride off into the sunset. That would just be my guess. I don't know.
That's fine. Then you hold on to him, of course. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't know if Steph feels that way.
Yeah.
That's the question. We assume he does, that he's okay with the 4, but maybe he wants to continue winning.
No, I mean, for them, the question would be, can they talk to Milwaukee and say, we'll give you Podziemski, Kuminga, Jimmy Butler's salary that'll expire at some point and give you all
that could work, actually. That could work.
I mean, like, can we get 3 or 4 unprotected first-round picks when all these guys are going to be gone? And then maybe some of the players, like a Podziemski, maybe you flip him to another team, you get another first. Can you do this to where you get 3 or 4 teams involved and you wind up walking away with like 6 unprotected first-round picks, and then you're just completely starting over? Yeah. And then in Golden State, you walk away with Giannis, you walk away with Curry, and you say, we'll take our chances with that.
I feel like that move there alone creates all the priorities for Milwaukee. You get a really good asset in Kuminga, but Podziemski is a pretty decent player, good shooter too, especially. You get potential cap room in a year you need it for to get into the market again for a potential whale again. That's the move to make if indeed Giannis asks to be moved, and if you're the Warriors. That's the move right there, probably. Because you fill out all those priorities.
There are a lot of guys that are going to be hitting the free agent market in 2027. So, I mean, if Butler's money comes off the books and you have all these draft picks, can you then dip back into the market? Or do you just do a total teardown and try and trade off Miles Turner and try and trade off Portis and, just move on from all your veterans and then just totally strip it to the studs and then just play the long game?
Well, he's getting frustrated. He last night he was very, very vocal again about the team's effort. They didn't show any effort, this and that. He was very vocal about that. It seems like that it's just loud now, and he's saying the words now that he's frustrated with the play of the team now. So at some point, you almost expect now for him to say, "Hey, listen, I'm done." The question is going to be: will it be before February, or will it be in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously haven't gotten to Milwaukee yet, but I mean, I just don't see him saying trade me. I feel like it's going to be one of those Luka Doncic type of trades where you just wake up and he's on another team the next morning, because I feel like his loyalty to Milwaukee, he doesn't want to be seen as one of those guys who jumps ship, even though he wants to jump ship.
Aren't we past that now, though, with all the complaining he's doing?
He's doing a lot of complaining, but he hasn't actually said, I don't want to be here. I think he's basically trying to make them the bad guys by trading him. It's just the games that he plays. He plays a lot of games, and I think that's
okay. Let's say that for the Milwaukee set, because I want to dive more into that in a second. Houston Rockets, number 4 in the West, 26-15. What'd you get them?
I give him a B. I think that if we had done this 3 weeks ago, I probably would have given him like an A-. But I think some of their warts are starting to show a little bit. I think the lack of shooting, they've struggled a little bit here lately. I think they blew like a 25-point lead to the Pelicans within the last 10 days.
And lost,
yeah. They're still 4th in the West. So, I mean, they're right there. But, I mean, again, you have, they're 5-5 in their last 10. You have a bad week, and you could wind up right where the Warriors are in the play-in. They are kind of an older team when you factor in, like, Adams, who just got hurt. He's been important to them from a rebounding standpoint. And Durant is your best player, essentially, and he's old and injury prone. And then you don't really have a lot of shooting around them. Reed Shepherd becomes vitally important because you don't have a lot of floor spacing. And the X factor for them really is Jabari Smith. Like, you can look at the numbers. I mean, when he plays well, they pretty much win every game. And when he has a dud, they could lose to anybody. just because you know what you're getting from Durant night in, night out. You know what you're getting from Şengün night in, night out. But even Şengün's not like a distance shooter. Right. So, I mean, like, you need some guys to space the floor. And Jabari Smith has been designed to space the floor. And if he's making those shots, they're hard to beat. If he's not, then, it's not as pretty. But, they started out the year looking like they were going to be the clear-cut number 3 behind OKC and Denver. And the fact that they're 4 and possibly sliding has to be a little concerning.
Well, San Antonio's crashed that party too also. I wouldn't C+ because I thought they'd be a little bit better than this, honestly. And I think especially when Jokic got hurt a month ago, okay, there's your opportunity to leapfrog the Nuggets, and they have not done that. So, and not to say they couldn't do it in the future, but at this point, I don't know if I see that now because Jokic should be back any day now. I won't go so far as say disappointing. It's C+ is a satisfactory year. Mm-hmm. But I thought they'd be at least a little better, a couple more wins than they have now. Yeah, like I said, the awards are showing, like you said, to your point.
And we grade a little differently. Like, they still have a lot of assets that they can move. So, I mean, like, the fact that they're in 4th with picks that they can move and get some shooting, I'm not, willing to rule them out yet. They've
no. Let's talk to
they've certainly put themselves in position to where they make a move here, a move there. They stay healthy. They continue growing. Again, this is the first year that most of these guys have played together. There's no reason why they can't be in that like championship.
But I think where I'm let down a little bit here is the fact that you have the 3 teams in the West now currently: OKC, San Antonio, Denver in that order. All their stars have missed significant time this year so far. Well, not so much SGA, but Jalen Williams missed the first third of the year. He's out again.
Third again, yeah.
Right. Wemby's missed time this year. Okay, at least 16 games this year. Jokic has been out for a month. So the opportunity for them to leapfrog these teams, or at least make up ground with OKC, is there, and they haven't taken it. And I think that's why I'm a little let down with the Rockets.
Yeah, although devil's advocate is they're 1 loss behind San Antonio, who's in 2nd. So, I mean,
Good
it's
point.
Not as if they're in Portland's shoes where they're 22-22 and they've got to have a great second half of the year. Like, they only need to pick up 1 or 2 games.
Phenomenal point. They're the help. They, by far of the 4 teams here, they've been the healthiest of the 4.
True, and you are right.
And that's why I'm let down. Right.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's why I'm let down a little bit.
Sure.
All right, next one here. Indiana Pacers, the current Eastern Conference champions, who are right now 10-35 and last 15th in the East. What'd you give them?
I give them a D. It's easy to give them an F because they've been the worst team in the league, but I think that a lot of this has been by design. I don't think it was designed to be quite this bad, but I think they were going into this looking at it as a gap year, which is, look, they signaled this when they got rid of Miles Turner. When they lowballed him on a free agent contract, they were basically looking at it and saying, look, we're just going to run Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff out there, and we're not going to have Halliburton, and we know how loaded this draft is, and we're going to take our chances with that. I don't know that, it's them in New Orleans for the 2 worst records in the league. I don't know they anticipated being that bad, but I think even if they were in the top 5, they looked at it and said, hey, we'll find a player that we can pair next to Halliburton and go from there. When he comes back. This wasn't like a Boston thing, I think, where Tatum was going to come back and, maybe you surprised a little bit and, there could have been something there. I think it was just set that he was going to miss the season. We're going to slow play a lot of these guys. Neesmith's banged up. We'll sit him a month. Mathurin, he's a little banged up. We'll sit him a month. I just don't I don't think that they're doing anything that they didn't anticipate. Maybe they're doing it worse than they anticipated, but okay, so they're 10-35 instead of 16-28. Which is what the Charlotte Hornets record is. So I don't see that as being a big difference. They were not designed to be a playoff team this year, and I don't think they wanted to be a playoff team this year. And so for that, I'm not hammering them completely.
Right, but the problem with me is that I think it'd be this bad.
True.
I didn't see 10-35 bad. I thought they'd be sub 500. They end up in the mid 30s, maybe high 30s of wins because you still have talent there. Remember, they were one of the deepest teams in the league last year.
Yeah.
And yet they're the worst team in the league right now, not named New Orleans. I gave them an F for that reason. Even though it's an F, even though they're going to end up possibly falling into a upgrade if they get a top 4 pick in the draft. So, but yeah, I didn't think it'd be this bad though. I didn't see this coming. All right, next team here, the LA Clippers, who right now are 19-24 and currently 10 in the West. What you gonna?
I gave him a C-. They've played a lot better recently, but then Kawhi just got hurt again. So,
really? Sky's blue, water's wet.
Well, knee soreness. I don't know what that means. Does he miss 1 game? Does he miss 2 games? Does he miss a month, or is he playing next game? I don't know what that means. I would say that for the past 2 or 3 weeks, they've looked like a pretty competent and dangerous team. Not to win a title, but just on the par of a Phoenix or a Golden State or something like that. But they started out so terribly. And again, I don't know that they're really designed to be a championship team. I feel like the reason why they got rid of Norman Powell was because they didn't want to pay him, and they sort of wanted to slow play this and keep their options open for the next couple of years. They want, all these guys are expiring in 27. So, when I mentioned about if Milwaukee were to take back Jimmy Butler and then have his contract expire in part of a deal for Giannis, then that opens up all that free agency money. So I think that there's some of that built into their style and the fact that they didn't really maybe anticipate being great. So like they're probably worse than they anticipated being. But I don't think they anticipated being a championship team. But Kawhi's played great when he's played, but now I don't know how long he's going to be out.
Yeah, if you had told me a month and a half ago, I would have said F plus 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 comma plus 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 plus. But they have recovered, and we kind of said that they're too good to not recover at some point, and they have no choice but to play well because they have no assets. They have nothing to play for. They can't. There's no incentive to tank because they have nothing to do to play for. So they're going to be a play-in team most likely. So I gave them a D plus because while I will, grade them better for the fact that they recovered in the last month and a half. That start's still that start. And the worst part is that they were relatively healthy too with that start. Like Kawhi was still playing basketball. Harden was healthy still. And they still didn't play well. And not for nothing, their roster is still a decent roster. It's still a good roster. Like it's still a playoff roster. We all agree that they're not probably win a title, but they can still put a scare in some of these teams on top of the Western Conference on any given day.
Yeah, if you look at their top 4, I mean Harden, Kawhi, Zubats, and John Collins, that's not terrible.
That is a playoff roster in either conference. So in the East, they're probably a top 5 or 6 team in the East right now. So that's why. So we recovered well, which is good, but the start was still a start. It was a bad start. So that's why I'm on D plus. All right, the Lakers, who were 26-16 and number 5 in the West.
I'll say a B-. I guess you could look at this a couple different ways. You could look at it and say they're worse than we expected or they're better than we expected. I mean, I think given how bad they are defensively, they're probably a little better than I expected. If you look at their record, I mean, they're 10 games over 500 with a negative net rating. I mean, they're a minus net rating, and Golden State is 3 slots down from them and is a plus 2.9. So, I mean, the Lakers really have not played all that well, and they're still 10 games over 500. So, I mean, that's the good sign. The bad sign is that they really they're not really a threat to do anything as constructed. Now, Austin Reeves has been hurt, but, I don't know if that solves the problem of Reeves and Doncic in the backcourt. I mean, defensively, I think they're always going to have problems. And because of that, I don't see them as like a viable championship contender at this point. They started off the season great. And LeBron's played great. He's played at an all-star level, but the reality is he's 41 years old. And, you made a comment not that long ago about Luka and would he win a title? I mean, it's kind of hard to see the way that he plays him winning a title because you almost need a team that's like designed solely for him. Like you need rim runners and 3-and-D players all over the roster, and they don't have that right now. So, and again, he fell into their lap. But like they need a major roster overhaul to get it to a place to where it can win around him. It's like what we talk about with the Knicks. Like, how do you win when Brunson and Towns are so bad defensively? How do you win a title when Luka's what he is on defense? And then also, if you look at the rest of their roster, I mean, DeAndre Ayton's not a plus defender. LeBron's 41 years old. Reeves is a bad defender. So, I mean, you've seen how frustrated JJ Redick's been with their defense. Yeah. But I don't know if there's anything they can do about that. That's just the way the roster is. And, you know, they got off to a good start earlier on in the season. Obviously, Reeves got hurt, and they haven't been able to outscore teams. So, you know,
they're better than I thought. They're better than I thought.
I guess you could say better than I thought, but I mean, because their defense is so bad, you know, I would have wanted to give them a C or a C minus, but because they're better than I would have anticipated given that, I went with B minus.
Yeah, I give them B. They better, way better than I thought. LeBron missed a chunk of the start of the year. By the way, I think JJ Redick is great. I think he will be a top coach in the league when it's all said and done. He has the right mindset. He has no problem getting people's face. He's very old school with a very much today's, you know, understanding the game today, but also a very old school approach to basketball, and has no problem getting people's faces to do it. And look, I thought Austin Reeves prior to injury was phenomenal this year, you know. So if you had told me they'd be them 5 in the West right now in middle of January, I would say get the hell out of here. With all these good teams there, no way. And yet there they are. So B for me it's where it's at for me. Now, obviously, do I think they were gonna win a title or be in contention for the title? No, but I didn't even think that even before the year started. So nothing really changed there because the West, the top 4 teams in the West, are does much better, and I can argue that even Minnesota's better than them probably still. It's all said and done. So, but yeah, in terms of what they've done so far this year, yeah, I give them B absolutely. That this is a much better team than I thought they'd be this year. So, all right, the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 18-24. And number 11 in the West.
I gave him a C plus. Just an average team. A bunch of question marks on the roster. But I mean, when they traded Bane, they pretty much signaled that they were not going to be contending for a championship this year. So I mean, you know, again, I bake in the expectations to the grade. I would say the way the John Morant drama has played out has been negative, obviously, and also they've been banged up tremendously. I mean, they could trade Morant tomorrow and still have plenty of point guard depth. The issue is that Scottie Pippen's hurt, Ty Jerome is hurt, so they signed Ty Jerome as a free agent. They haven't had either one of those point guards, and then Ja's missed games. So I mean, like, they've been really banged up. I don't really see them as being much different than what they probably anticipated being. It seems like they hit on Cedric Howard. That was a good draft pick. Mm-hmm. He's been really good. He's a starter for them, probably, you know, first team all rookie, maybe second team all rookie, but like, you know, could be first team. Mm-hmm. So because of that, you know, I give them kudos there, but you know, they're just an average team and not going anywhere in the West.
Yeah, I actually originally had D minus, but I gotta go D. I want to go a little higher too, also because honestly, this season feels like a disaster, and yet they have 18 wins. They're actually looking at the records like, wait, how the hell do they have 18 wins? With Ja missing a chunk of the year this year, all the injuries, and yet they have 18 wins in the Western Conference. I'm actually impressed by that, honestly. But I also thought they'd be a little bit better than this before the year started. So there's a little bit of that too. Also, what were my initial expectations versus what we actually seen on the court so far, and what's been going on with the team since November or October rather. So. You know, maybe I give them a C minus. Honestly, I'll give them a C minus. You know why? Because they're probably better than they probably should be. Yeah, record wise, given all the shit they're going through, but they should be better. I thought it'd be better than they were currently. I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be a play-in team. Actually, be honest with you, like number 8 or 7 play-in team. Yeah, but Ja, he's done. He's done there. He's done. He's checked out. So, all right, here we go. My Miami Heats, who are currently 23-21 and number 8 in the East. What are you giving them?
C plus.
I gave him a C. I gave him a C. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, they're always in the play-in. I mean, we've talked about this for years. I mean, if anything, the way they started out the year, the way their offense was running, pace and space and all that, outscoring teams, I thought that, hey, they have a chance to be like where Toronto is, and you know, they're only a couple games back of Toronto, so I mean, it's not the end of the world. But you know, I would have thought that. With how Norm Powell's played, you still have Adebayo, Khalil Ware's, you know, a good prospect. You know, he's had his moments in this Eastern Conference. I'm not overwhelmed by anything that they've done. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Bam has, we've talked about it. He's just so streaky. I mean, like, he's got the capability to give you 30, but then he's also got the capability to go 4 for 13 and give you, 9 or 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And just that inconsistency just makes them hard to trust. And
it's frustrating, man. It's so frustrating as a fan.
Given how good the coach is, and they've tried a lot of different things, and they've got some good players on their roster, and the fact that none of it has really worked out past being just an average team, it's average. So, C+, but there's room for them to move. Certainly. I mean, there's no reason why they can't be the 5 or the 6 seed with still half a season left to play.
Yeah. And their second best player on the team has not been available most of the year. It's not a hero. So to them, to where they're at now and still trying to figure out tweaks with the roster or where has had moments within the whole him and Spo. And I love Spo, man, but I don't agree with the way he's using Ware, to be honest with you. I've been critical of Spo in recent weeks about how he's utilized and Ware, and a lot of fans agree with me on that. Yeah. But yeah, I went C for the same reason. Like I think they're only what, as you said, 4.5 back of the 2 seed in the East. Yeah. So I'm not saying they got the 2 seed, but that tells you where everything stands in the lay of the land in the Eastern Conference. That if they can get like a nice 2-3 week run, they're right in the mix of being out of the play-in. So there's definitely a lot of space there to make some noise. All right. Speaking of noise, next team here, Milwaukee Bucks, 18-25, number 11 in the East. I'm sure this is easy grade for us, right?
I mean, I gave him a D only because I feel like because if they do make some sort of panic move to try and keep Giannis, which I don't necessarily think that they're going to do, but I mean, if they went out and, traded for Michael Porter Jr., let's say, and then wound up getting like the 7 seed, there's still a path in a bad Eastern Conference where like it's not completely over for them. I mean, again, they're only a game and a half behind the Hawks. They have the same number of losses. So, I mean, it looks bad just because it seems like Giannis doesn't want to be there. But if the team's not going to trade him, we don't know that John Horst and ownership is just going to give him what he wants. So if they go the other way, and let's say trade for Michael Porter Jr., and then you throw out Ryan Rollins and Giannis and AJ Green and Michael Porter Jr. and Miles Turner, like Kevin Porter Jr., like that's not the worst team in the East if they can play up to it. So I'm not giving them an F because I feel like there is a little bit of wiggle room for them to improve. But obviously it's pretty bleak right now, given that not only has the roster not played very well, but also Giannis hasn't really played all that well and seems sort of disengaged, which was disappointing. Before the year, I thought that he was going to play at an MVP level, and he really hasn't. So,
which is exactly why I gave him an F, because I thought they would be a top 3 seed in the East. I had Giannis as my MVP this year before they started, and they weren't even good even when Giannis was healthy before he got hurt. Yeah. So that's the thing. I can't use the excuse of Giannis because they were under 500 before he got hurt. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they were bad there. Look, now here's the thing. I still think they'll make the play-in. I think either Chicago or Atlanta gets knocked out of there at some point in the next couple weeks. Okay, Milwaukee you have the top 3, 4, 5 player in the league in Giannis. He will find a way by hook or by crook to get them into the play-in. Okay, but they're not a good team. Now, if he gets traded before then that's off the table, obviously. But it's a massive disappointment. It's an F for me. This is terrible. Like everything around it, what's going on with Giannis? They weren't that good before the injury. It's a mess. It's a fucking mess, man. So what a letdown for me this year. I thought the Bucks would be one of those sneaky. I hate saying sneaky because Giannis is the top guy in the league, but not a lot of people had the Bucks doing anything this year, even in the easy East. I thought the Bucks got a chance to make some noise.
I said on this podcast they could be like a 5 or a 6 seed. So the fact that they're 11, and the highest they can probably jump, even if they made a trade and turn things around, would probably be 8. That's.
Do you see a world that gets 6? Because they only 5 back of 6.
No, because Philly has a good thing going there. Cleveland, I think, is too good to fall back. Even if Toronto falls back, I mean, you figure that Orlando or Miami is going to jump up. So, I mean, even if they jump ahead of Chicago and Atlanta, and let's say they even get to the 8, the best they can do is winning the first play-in game and finishing 7th, and then you're facing Boston or Detroit or the Knicks in the first round. So I mean, I just don't see them getting past play-in.
All right. Next team here, Minnesota Timberwolves, 27-17 and number 7 in the West. What you giving them?
I give them an A-.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that they've played pretty well. I mean, they don't really have a traditional point guard. I think that they've gone through stretches of the season where they've looked a little disengaged. But I mean, all in all, I mean, their net rating's 5.1. They're 3 games out of the 2nd seed. So I mean, they're not out of it by any stretch. They've been better, I would say, than what I thought they would have been. I mean, if you're comparing Towns to Randall right now, I mean, I think Minnesota's happy with the way that their roster looks and the way that move has played out. Gobert, Randall, McDaniels, Edwards. I mean, that's solid. I feel like on any given night they could beat anybody. So, and they've beaten OKC this year. So,
you gave him what you said? A-?
A-.
I gave him a B actually. I thought they're not being taken. No, they lost 3 games in a row, obviously, but they're kind of on the radar right now in the West. Like they're number 7, but let's be clear about that. They're better than number 6 and 5 in the West. 7 game series against Phoenix, like I'm taking Minnesota win the series. This is bottom line. So, like they are the team that after you get past the first 4, they are very dangerous because enough for nothing, they've gone to the last 2 conference finals in the Western Conference. It's not act like this team is not like come out of nowhere. This team has done some things last couple of years. All right. Now, I don't think they're better than those 4 teams, but let's not act like they couldn't put a scare, at least in the Rockets. I mean, Denver. And by the way, Denver, and with Denver and Minnesota, it's a little rivalry going there, and they've beaten them once already in the playoffs a couple years ago. So Minnesota's the team that no one's talking about. And that might be a good thing, too, also. Because
I mean, for me, they're right there. I mean, if you look at their recent losses, I mean, yes, they had a bad loss to Utah. I mean, if you look a month ago, they had a bad loss to the Nets. They got blown out by the Hawks. So I mean, like, yeah, they have some bad losses on their schedule. But like, even just in the past 2 weeks, I mean, they lost by 3 to San Antonio. They lost by 5 to Houston. They beat San Antonio. They blew out Milwaukee. They beaten Cleveland. So I mean, like, they've got a lot of good wins on their resume. And then if you look forward, I mean, they play Chicago later. That's probably a win. They have 2 games against Golden State. They probably win those. They probably beat Dallas. Then they play Oklahoma City. They play Memphis twice after that. So, I mean, like, they're probably in position here where in 2 or 3 weeks, or at least after the trade deadline All-Star break, they're like a 4 seed, 5 seed, something like that. So,
I mean, right now they're tied for, technically they're in a 3-way tie for 5th in the Lakers with the Lakers, and then only a half game back at 4. Yeah. So, I mean,
so I'm saying they could comfortably be there in 2 weeks.
And I'm going to say something now. They're going to be there when it's all said and done. I think they're better than Phoenix. They're better than Lakers. I'm sorry, I just think they are. Yeah. So they will be there by the end of the year. All right, next team, the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 10-36 and 50 in the West. What'd you give them?
I gave them a D, and the only reason why I didn't give them an F was because I think Queen and Fears look pretty good. I mean, the reason why they got hammered for that trade they made with Atlanta was that they gave up an unprotected pick so that they could take Derek Queen in knowing that there's this draft coming with all these voted superstar players. It was a horrific trade. The saving grace is that like Queen and Fears, like they look like they're going to be pretty good players. So, I mean, they've got Trey Murphy on the roster. I don't know what they do with Zion, but like they've got a couple pieces that, they could move or build around. The 2 young guys look good. But I don't want to bury the lead. Like they don't have their pick for next year. It goes to Atlanta and they're the worst team in the league. Well, essentially tied with Indiana, but for all intents,
Indiana's better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
No, it's F for me. It's F for me. It's time to trade Zion, bro. Let's just get rid of Zion. Let's do it. It's time.
Yeah, and they might.
What are we doing though? Like, let's get rid of him. You start fresh. You're not going anywhere. Now you're bad with him. Any value of this guy is going to go away. Let's get rid of him now. What are we doing? Let's stop playing games. So all right, next one. Oh, this will be fun. The New York Knicks, who right now are 26-18 and number 3 in the East. What are you doing this one? I think we'll see.
I gave him a C.
Really?
The expectation for them was to be, the kind of record that Detroit has. The reason why they got rid of Thibodeau was because he was running guys into the ground, didn't run a very innovative offense. Things were going to be more free flowing, and everyone was going to have a lot more freedom, and it was going to be wonderful. They've been very underwhelming. They haven't played great. They're 3-7 in their last 10. And this is with coming off a 54-point win over the Nets last night. So, that gets some of the good juices flowing again. But the reality is, they've just been an underwhelming team. And they're right there. The reason why I didn't give them lower or higher is because, basically it's almost like an incomplete. They're still in position to do everything we thought they were going to do. They just really haven't played all that well. And the elephant in the room, as we always talk about, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, is how are you going to beat good teams when Brunson and Cat can't defend? That's going to be the challenge for them. But they're still in position to get a 2 seed in the East, so it's not as bleak as all that. They could still be where they thought that they would be, since there's still half a season left. It's just that so far it hasn't looked as good as we would have thought.
Mr. Hrinya, underwhelming will be an understatement. Okay, They should be where Detroit's at. You answered the question right there. You just stated it right there. Okay, this is a D. Okay, this team is underwhelmed, and they're healthy. I mean, Jalen runs a little bit of time, but not much to turn the tables here. They have the best roster on paper in that conference.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? There is no. What did we say coming to the year? Especially with all the injuries with Boston and Indiana, there is no excuse for this team. Anything outside anything less than a finals berth is a failure for the Knicks.
True, okay? But they're still in position for that. They could still get there.
Which they are. And again, we're only grading on what we've seen so far in the product. Yeah. But now we're talking about we're in a world now where you and I having text exchanges now. Where 2 weeks ago now we're saying, oh, they might lose to the Pistons now in the playoffs because there's a problem there.
Yeah, they're not as constructed right now. They're not tough enough to beat the Pistons.
Then Greg, it's a failure. If what you're saying, because I'm not there yet with New York to the point when I'm not there saying they're gonna lose to Detroit in the 7-game series. I'm not there just yet. But I see the scenario. You're there already, and if what you're saying is true,
but it hasn't happened yet. So
no, right? No, true, no. But if what you're saying will happen, it's a failure. End discussion. This is it. This is the year to do it. This is Josh Allen, the Bills this year in the AFC. No excuses.
No,
that's it. It's a D. Right. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Do they trade Cat? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that there's going to be a market for him, and I don't think what you'd get back for him. I saw John Bondi of the Post floated out the idea of trading Cat for Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday. Yeah. If you're the Knicks, I'm sure you'd love to do that, but I don't think that Portland would want to do that.
Yeah. All right, next one here. The world champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, best record in the NBA at 37-8. Of course, number one in the West. What grade are you giving these guys?
I gave them an A. I didn't give them an A+ because I don't think that they're in position to break any records or anything like that, like maybe we would have thought previously. But look, they're the favorite. They're the top 2 favorite in the West, and I guess in the league too. I don't think anybody in the East is gonna give them a scare. But they're the same as they were last year. So they haven't done anything worse. They haven't done anything better. I think they maybe have been a little underwhelming in terms of Jalen Williams hasn't been healthy, hasn't really played that well even when he played. But they're still right there, and they're still the betting favorite to win another title. So can't argue with that. So I went with an A.
And there's a hard thing too, also, because I went A-, but I feel like I should give him an A because we still I think we kind of forgot that Jalen Williams didn't play the first freaking 2 months of the year for the team. You know what I mean? And they were the most dominant when that was going on. Now they slipped a little bit the last couple weeks. Obviously, they have a little bit of a Spurs problem too. Also, although they beat the Spurs, I think last week. So I went A- just because they've kind of come down to the pack just a tid. But ultimately, they are the favorites win the whole thing. When it's all said and done, I still expect them to be in the finals and win the whole thing again.
Mhm.
So what went A minus? I thought the last couple of weeks have been a little. They've gone off the gas just a little bit. So A minus, just a little bit. You know, what I mean, there's room to improve. You know what I mean? All right, the Orlando Magic, who are 23-19 and number 7 in the East. What'd you get those guys?
I gave them a B.
Really?
Yeah. I don't see why they can't move up, given that these guys have never played together, given that Franz Wagner's been hurt, given that Jalen Suggs has been hurt. There's no reason why they can't go from 7 to 3. I mean, they're one game in the loss behind the Knicks. So, I mean, you know, they could very well be right where everyone projected they could be. And also Anthony Black has kind of been a revelation for them. I mean, he's turned into like an all-star caliber player. So if you factor in that Desmond Bane is new to what they're doing, Franz Wagner's missed, most of the season up until recently. Banchero's been underwhelming. All that said, and they're one in the loss outside of 3, like that's not bad. And you find Anthony Black, who's a good player, and maybe as they get healthy, they turn into a better team here. So I'm not punting on them just yet, and I think that the Anthony Black factor gives them a B for me.
Wow, you're a nice guy to me, because I gave him a D plus, man. I am let down by this team. This is the team that, again, the scenario this year in the East was okay, wide open season, space to thrive in the East with the Celtics and Pacers being crippled. They're not what I thought they'd be. I had them winning 50 games this year. They're let down for me this year. They're the play-in. What are we doing? Like, this is ridiculous. This team, and they're actually worse Apollo too. Also, can you believe that?
Well, that is a problem. Yes, I will agree with you there, and that's a separate discussion.
What do you do?
But my argument is, look, they have the same record as the Sixers, so that's essentially tied for 6th. They have one less loss actually than Cleveland. So I mean, if we're looking at Cleveland as a big disappointment, Orlando's lost fewer games. So they're as bad as or as underwhelming as it's been. They're a week away from being the 3 seed. I mean, like,
true. No, you're right.
It's not all that bleak, and also it's half a season missing most of their roster. If you had told me that Franz was going to be out, Suggs was going to be hurt, and that they were going to be relying on Bane, who's never been there before, and Paolo, obviously, that's a different thing. He's got one of the worst.
So you see where Boston's at right now, currently in the East.
Yeah,
I thought they'd be there and better right now at this point in the year. That's why I'm let down by that. I thought they'd be around close to 3 wins.
Again, I'm not saying that the season's over. So, I mean, in 2 weeks, that could still be the case. So I think that given that they're getting healthier, they could very well trend in that direction, which is why I'm not going to throw in the towel.
But if you're the Magic and Paulo, are you concerned long term? Is he?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think he's good enough to be the superstar they anticipate him being. Now, the thing that helps is that Bane around him, Wagner around him, now Anthony Black around him, like, he shouldn't be facing the kind of defenses where he's got to go 1-on-5. So, I mean, that should help.
But then you can't be paying that guy freaking max money either, though. He's not max player at that point. Then
I agree. In my opinion, he's not. He's not that type of player. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his. I think his jump shooting numbers are some of the worst in the league.
Yeah, horrible. And I think my D plus also baked in the fact that Paulo's been let down too. On top of that,
and that's a fair way to look at it. But I think they've got enough other good guys on the team, and the fact that Anthony Black has really popped, that you could say this team could still get further than what we would have thought had we given them, an A minus. But, I mean, it's like it's still ahead of them.
Right. All right. Next team here, the Philadelphia 76ers, who right now are also 23-19 and number 6 in the East. What you give them?
I give them an A minus. Mainly because Embiid has looked a lot better than I ever would have anticipated. They're load managing him through the season, so I mean, their record might not ultimately be great. But I was thinking about this the other day. Like, if you look at VJ Edgecombe, like, he's not going to win Rookie of the Year. It's going to be between Connor Knippel and Cooper Flagg. But like, in 5 years, Edgecombe might be the best player out of this class. I mean, like, he's really good. And you've got Maxey and Edgecombe for the foreseeable future. And the fact that Paul George has played okay, the fact that Embiid is giving you what he's giving you and looking the way that he is, I mean, I'm almost not even concerned about what the record is and who they play since the East is so down. I'm kind of looking at it and saying if they get into a playoff series and they've got a healthy Embiid, healthy to the way he's looked for the past month and a half, basically. If he looks in the playoffs like he has for the past month and a half, you can't tell me that they're not a threat to beat any one of these teams in the East. And they also have room they have picks, they have guys that they can move if they want to go for an upgrade and really go for it this year. Their schedule's pretty soft going forward the rest of the season. I mean, they have a bottom 10 strength of schedule left. So, they could certainly move up from there. They could certainly move into the 4 seed, let's say. So, but most of that is just baked into the fact that Embiid has looked as good as he has.
Yeah, I went B+ for the same reason. And if you asked me about a week ago, even 2 weeks ago, I would have probably said an A.
Yeah.
But they played a little bit mid the last couple of weeks, though 5-5 in the last 10. But the fact that Embiid is effective while playing less, the draft picks once again is hit. Edgecomb's hit. Max is a superstar now officially. Paul George since injury has played decent. So they've gotten what they needed to stay above water, and if they can stay healthy going to the playoffs, you're going to have to elevate the Embiid minutes in the playoffs if he's healthy by then. The goal is to get Embiid to the finish line, which is April, and then elevate the minutes as we get further into the spring. Yeah. So they've done a good job with that. I have to give them credit for that. I always thought this was on the table because if Embiid is healthy-ish, Paul George healthy-ish, this was always on the table. That's why I can't give him an A yet. But I gotta give him a B plus because of the fact that they've navigated it in a way where, okay, we're not going to unlock Embiid totally, but we're going to do it in stretches and we'll play back-to-backs. But it's working and it's effective. He's actually playing well under this current circumstance. Yeah. So that's why I gave him a B+. Very, very good job by the Sixers this year, what they've done. By the way, you know what's funny? And I feel like we skipped the team earlier because you mentioned Concanipple.
The Hornets.
I think we did the Hornets. Did we do the Hornets?
No, you missed them.
All right, so let's go to Hornets real quick because I'm glad you mentioned Con because I would have forgotten them because they are a very interesting team for the record.
Yeah, I noticed. I noticed that you skipped them earlier, but I figured that we'd catch them at the end, so we could just do them now.
You would remind me. You would remind me.
What?
I didn't remember until you mentioned Concanipple. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Because I didn't. Yeah, by all means, if I forget, you let me know. Okay. So the Hornets, we forgot. Sorry, guys. 16-28. They're number 12 in the East. What are we doing on that one?
I gave him a B+. I know it's probably easy to say, a C or a D or whatever, but I mean, again, Concanipple looks like Klay Thompson out there basically, and given that they hit a home run with that pick, and then you also look at it and you say, okay, like they've got some pieces. Like Brandon Miller looks pretty good. Concanipple looks pretty good. I don't know what you do with LaMelo Ball, but trade him. I don't know if there's really a market out there for him, but I mean, I feel like they're building something pretty good there, and they're on the right track. Whether that includes LaMelo Ball or not, I have no idea. Maybe they move Miles Bridges. I don't know what their plans are for the rest of the year. Do they want to tank and go back and like deep in the lottery or whatnot? But Diabate, Kalkbrenner, like they've been a good center tandem. They drafted well last year. Sion James, Kalkbrenner, they both shown flashes. Concanipple again, could be rookie of the year. I'd say Cooper Flagg, but he certainly could be. So given all the young guys that they've put in there and they've played fairly well, given that we didn't expect them to be very good at all. I give them credit for that. So I gave them a B+. I think they're better than what my expectations would have been.
Oh yeah. I gave them a B also. I gave them a B. I mean, this is the I call it the LaMelo exit strategy. LaMelo Ball is not going to. He's a talented player, but as we discussed in the podcast the last couple of years, he doesn't equal wins, and ultimately, you want to win something. Okay, Concanipple could be the guy that gets you over the hump.
Yeah,
LaMelo Ball might be the person that actually stumps that growth.
Sure,
trade LaMelo Ball for whatever the fuck can get from him. I mean, you're not going to get the full dollar on that one. If you can get 6 cents of the dollar on LaMelo Ball, just do it.
Yeah,
just do it because no one. The jig is up. The people know what he is. So this don't stop pretending that you can fix this guy. Take the L on what you on value and just call it a day. Because at this point, you don't want him impacting the growth of Conquerable. Because this is essentially just his team now.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, it's his team now.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, back to where we were now. Now that I corrected that. All right, so next team here is the Phoenix Suns, who are right now 27-17 and currently number 6 in the West.
I gave them an A
So
because I think they were way better than I would have anticipated. I think Jordan Ott, their coach, has done a tremendous job. He gets them to play hard every night. They fly all over the floor. Devin Booker's been good. Dylan Brooks is having a career year, basically. They've even had some injuries that they've managed to navigate. Grayson Allen hasn't played a ton, but Mark Williams has been good. Royce O'Neal has been excellent, and basically he's been just a role player all his career. Jaylen Brown's been hurt too. So Jaylen Green, Grayson Allen, both been hurt, and they've still found a way to basically be one of the better teams in the West, which, given the lack of talent on paper, I think speaks very well to what they're building there. And, they've had some finds. Colin Gillespie's been really good. They're getting stuff out of Jordan Goodwin and Oso Ighodaro. And, it's like they're getting it from unexpected sources. Almost every guy is playing better than what his trading card would say he is. So I think that they've done some good stuff there.
Yeah, A as well. Now, I did say they'd be better than people anticipated. I did say it before the year started. I did my preview podcast with my boy Zach before the year started. I had the over on 31 wins. I thought they'd been maybe 33, 35 wins this year.
Yeah.
Maybe move on from Durant, maybe a fresh new lease on life. Then Booker's his team again. They can find a way to get 30-some wins. I didn't see this shit coming. This is what I didn't see coming. And, this is a job well done. They should honestly get A+, honestly, because this came out of nowhere. They're going to crush you over in about a week or so, put it that way. So, yeah, what a job well done by the Suns so far. A, definitely. All right, the Portland Trailblazers, who are currently 22 and number 9 in the West.
So with them, I gave them a B+. I think given all the injuries that they've had, they basically haven't had a point guard all year. Drew Holiday's been hurt with a calf strain most of the year. Scoot Henderson hasn't played at all. So, he had a hamstring injury before the season, still hasn't played.
This is year 3 of him, year 3, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it a bust?
Well, I mean, we haven't seen him enough. I think that's part of the problem. I think he played better in stretches last year where he looked like he could have been something, but he just hasn't played. But Denny Avdija has turned out to be an all-star. He's on the all-star team this year. So, I mean, I would say that, they're a 500 team in the West, which is a tougher conference with no point guard, and Jeremy Grant's missed a lot of games. And Caleb Love has turned into a good draft pick that they had. Shaedon Sharpe is, averaging 20 points a game. So, I mean, all things considered, 21 points a game, all things considered, what they could have been the worst team in the league. So I think that Avdija's ascension and the fact they're doing it without a point guard speaks pretty well to what they're doing there.
And we saw the signs last year that they were starting to show progress, and they've continued that trek now also too. And by the way, tonight I'll get a good tonight be my first time being able to really watch them to play Miami tonight at 10 o'clock. So I gave him an A as well. Oh, I went A. You went B, right?
I went B+.
I went A because again, in the Western Conference with right now as deep as it is, and they're at 500, is kind of incredible, honestly. And they're doing a good job of developing talent now. They're doing a good job with that. So there's that. All right, the Sacramento Kings, who are currently 12-33, and number 14 in the West.
I gave them a D. I think the saving grace for them is that they have their draft pick. So, I mean, no matter how bad it gets, they still could walk away from this, maybe trading some of these guys and then, topping out with one of these good young players. If they walk out of here with Darren Peterson, I think they'll feel pretty good about themselves. I guess the only issue is that there's not really anything on this roster outside of Nick Clifford and Keegan Murray that you're really married to, which might be enough. I mean, if you start a season next year with Darren Peterson, Nick Clifford, and Keegan Murray, and then you fill in around that, you're not going to be a good team, but you at least have a building block for that. The problem I have with them now isn't just their record. It's just that you have Westbrook starting, Levine, DeRozan. These are all older guys. Where are you going with that? So, I mean, they're a bad team without really developing young players. So I guess you could make the argument for an F, but I guess with this draft being where it is and they have their draft pick, if a team didn't have their draft pick and had no play, if they had traded their draft pick, I would have said, okay, this is an easy F. But the fact that they still have something that they can do with this season leaves me at a D.
Yeah, I went F. I've actually gone a little higher than that because they didn't get some. They didn't have some bonus for a good chunk of the year too. On top of that, so I should probably,
almost all of it. Yeah, I mean, Keegan Murray and Sabonis basically haven't played this year, so I mean, those are their two best players essentially.
Yeah, so maybe just give them a D minus just kind of get some grace there. But yeah, what a far cry from where this team was 3 years ago, man. This was a team that was ascending, and they, it's sad to see where they're at now. Back to the bottom of the barrel where most of the time, my lifetime watching basketball, that's where they've been. It sucks. It really does suck because I was hoping that this team would be a Western Conference, threat, and certainly anything but that at this point now. So
yeah,
but so I'll give him a D minus to be said. I have F here, but I'll give him a D minus. All right, the San Antonio Spurs, who right now, if this computer can work, they are currently 30-14, number 2 in the West. What you get them?
For me, they were my only A+.
Mm-hmm.
So that was.
I gave him an A, but I might give him an A+ too also. Because
the reason I gave him an A+ is because they're so far ahead of schedule from where we thought they'd be, and Wemby's missed games too. So I mean,
that part. That's the one why you gave him an A+, right there. The second thing you said.
Yeah, but I mean, even if he hadn't missed games, they are so far ahead of schedule. Most people prior to the year had them. Oh, they could be a 5 or a 6 seed, most likely a play-in team. It's just too early in their journey, and they could win a title this year. And
correct.
If you can win a title this year with all these young players and a lot of flexibility to move, they've got Atlanta's pick this year. So I mean, one thing that's lost in here is that I know Atlanta's got the New Orleans pick better, but I mean, if Atlanta doesn't make the playoffs, the Spurs are getting another lottery pick. So I mean, they've also done it a lot lately without Devin Vassell. He's been hurt for a while. But the Fox Castle Harper pairing has been good. I mean, Harper has been kind of underwhelming, but it's also hard to judge a rookie who's thrown into a situation where they're expecting to win games. It's not like he's playing for Indiana or Brooklyn or Washington where they're just saying, go out there and play 25 minutes and put up your stats. He's got to play in an ecosystem that's designed to win.
Yeah.
But again, the fact that Wemby's missed time and they could win a title this year, which I don't think many people saw coming. Credit to the coach, credit to the players. Yeah, I mean they're there. I mean, you could make that argument. Prior to the season, I thought that only the Nuggets could challenge. I think right now you'd add the Spurs to that as well.
Yeah, A+ too. I went A, but I went A+ because we forget Wemby missed a chunk of time and they're still in the spot. They're way ahead of schedule. They can win the NBA championship this season, and we weren't saying that in October.
Yeah.
We were saying, continue to track. We still got to beat Denver, and Houston's better this year, and obviously, OKC's OKC. Oh, no. They can beat those teams right now. They're there. They've arrived. And Wemby, if he's not the best player in basketball right now, I think it's safe to say he's top 3 in the league right now.
Yeah, he's just got to stay healthy. He's just got to stay healthy. That's the caveat.
No, that's it. Right. So you look at the top 3, of course, it's going to be Jokic, obviously.
He's a dominant player. It's just that what's always going to be limiting for him, especially when it comes to awards and things like that, is that I just don't know that he's going to play.
Right.
He's never going to hit the 65-game threshold to really get the honor that he's probably deserving of. But as long as he's healthy for the playoffs, I think that's all you really care about.
So top 3 players in the league, we agree. It's Jokic, it's SGA, and it's Wemby, right? We're there, right?
Yeah,
I'll take out at this point. I'll take out Giannis. Giannis is gone.
Yeah. The way that Giannis has played this year, I would probably have to drop him below Wemby. So I mean, he's again still top 5 player, but
and I'm not putting Luka in the top 3 over Wemby. We're
No.
done with that shit. That thing is closed.
No, I mean Luka you could put in the top 6 or 7 players, which is no knock.
He's probably still top 5. He's probably still top 5 in the league, but it's just not. Yeah. Wemby has ascended. He's arrived, and he's about to take over Jokic in the next year or two. So, the same, because he'll have a ring in a second. Because he's gonna get a title or a bunch of titles. He's winning championships. This guy's winning championships, barring health, of course. All right. Toronto Raptors. They are 27-19, number 4 in the East. What you got?
I put them at a B+. I think that they're a lot better than I would have thought. Now, again, they're lumped in with a bunch of other teams. So, I mean, there are some things about the roster that you don't necessarily love. Like, they gave Pirtle a massive extension. Not only has he been hurt, but, stylistically, I don't know that he really helps, like, what they're doing tremendously. They don't have a lot of shooting. Barnes is really good. Ingram has played really well. Quickly scored, I think, like almost 40 the other night. If not 40. So, I mean, but that was a rarity. I think their coach has done a really good job. And again, Barnes will be an all-star. So, I mean, they're not the tanking team that they were last year. You could see that when they put it all together, that it's a very solid team. But I don't see, like, I don't want to say a championship team, but, like, I don't see them going to, like, the Eastern Conference Finals. So,
yeah. Gave him an hold on, where did my thing go? I lost my I gave him an A. Because I always thought this was on the table. I said when the year started that the Raptors are an intriguing roster. Now they got a lot of guys who do the same thing, wing guys. Mm-hmm. But again, the East is wide open, so there's space to maneuver. But I didn't think it'd be this good. I saw them as a play-in team, possibly for the 6th seed. I didn't see a 4 seed right now currently in the East, and they're technically tied with 3. So, I mean that I didn't see coming. So you gotta give me an A there. And they can still improve also too. On top of that, that's what's scary. They can still improve. So, all right, 2 more teams here. The Utah Jazz, who right now are 15-29, number 13 in the West. What you got?
I will surprise you, and I will give them a B. And the reason why I'll give them a B is because I think that if they weren't trying to hold on to a top 8 protected pick, they'd actually be a lot better than this. I think that their coach, Will Hardy, is great. I think that Markkanen has played great when he's been playing. I mean, again, he doesn't always play, and it's what tanking teams do. But Keontae George has been an all-star. I mean, I don't know if he's going to make the all-star team, but I mean, he's been fantastic. Markkanen, Keontae George, the fact that they're going to get another lottery pick this year, and the fact that they've probably already been better than what management wants them to be, I would give them a B. Look, they won the first game of the season against the Clippers by like 40 points. So, I mean, I think that they've built a nice thing here. It's just they're still in that rebuilding phase, but I think they're doing a good job in that rebuilding phase.
So I'm not far from you.
I think they've hit on a lot of the young guys. I mean, we don't know about Ace Bailey yet, but like Sensabaugh has been good. Keontae George is a borderline star. Markkanen's still good. He's a good veteran to have. Filipowski's been solid. So I think there's a lot to like on their roster.
No. I'm not far from you. I gave him a C actually, because they've been frisky. Every time I watch them play, they're always in games. They always give teams issues. They're in games. They're much better than I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be where the Pelicans are at, not worse. And no, they're not. Is Laurie? Do they stay the course of Laurie and build around him, or do you think they still trade him?
I think they'll probably wind up keeping him. I think
he's a good player. He's a very good player.
Yeah, I think it depends on how this draft turns out. If they wind up walking away with like a DeBonsa, and then they can put, Keontae George, Ace Bailey, DeBonsa, Markkanen out there, like I think that's when they really start trying to win. Again, I don't know where they're going to wind up drafting, but I think that this is probably the last year of their tank, and if they are trying to start winning games next year, you're going to need a veteran there to do that. So my guess is he stays.
Look at Portland, man. Look at Portland. Yeah. Portland is a great example of trying to win games, and you find the right pieces and just build from there. So, all right, and finally, the Washington Wizards, who are currently 10-32 and number 14 in the East. What you give them?
I gave them a C, just because I feel like they've got some good young players that they probably feel better about than they would have otherwise. I really like Keyshawn George. I think Alex Sarr has got the potential to be the best player from that draft. So, I mean, they've got some building blocks for when they eventually try and win, and I know that they're probably getting a top 5-6 pick again this year. Trey Johnson looks good. He's been in and out of the lineup a little bit, but I mean, Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, I think those three guys are guys you feel good about. Bub Carrington and Will Riley, I don't know that you know enough about them to feel good about them. I don't think they really hit on Bilal Coulibaly. I think that experiment's probably over. But again, it's the expectation of what they were trying to do. They weren't trying to be competitive this year. And the Trae Young thing, we'll see. I think that was designed to get some playmaking for some of these other guys to take some of the ball handling pressure off them. I don't even know if we're going to see Trae Young this year, but going forward, if he can get shots for Trey Johnson, who's one of the better young shooters in the league, like that'll be a win. So, and it's not like they're going to be competing for a title next year, but it's just going to be their evolution and how they grow this roster. So if you have Trey Johnson, you have Trae Young, you have Alex Sarr, that's a pretty good nucleus. And this is like one of the few teams I feel like that are equipped to actually take Trae Young. So
I initially had it as a D minus initially. But then I realized that's stupid because I probably had them worse than this actually at 10 wins. So they actually technically are where they're actually probably better than we probably thought they'd be. So
yeah,
I'm not going to reward a bad team with a B or an A, even though I know how your grade scale works, that, if you should be tanking this and that. But I'll give them a C minus because they're a little bit better. I find them much more competitive now than it had been in recent years, like in game to game anyway. You know what I mean? They have they had to beat Boston one time early in the year. They have a couple of decent wins here and there. No, they're doing what they're supposed to do. I thought the Trae Young move was good in a sense that it gives them an option to figure out what he would build around that pick, around that transaction, or trade that transaction. You think he won't play this year? Very possible. You might be right about that one. But they have options to work with here in terms of like how to go about building this team for the future. But I know. Look, they lost 7 in a row, so it's hard to give a team a solid grade and lost 7 in a row. But honestly, they're better than I thought they would be this year. I thought they'd be like 6 wins this year.
But it's important to note that they have that their first round is top 8 protected. So I mean, if it falls out at 9, it goes to the Knicks. So I mean, like they are going to ensure that they keep that pick. So
they're incentivized to lose games.
Yeah, they're incentivized to lose games because they need one of those, top 8 players. They can't afford to give that pick to the Knicks. So I mean, they're going to keep losing games.
So why I hate tanking as an art form, and to use your barometer, I'm going to bake that into why I got a C minus also too. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So, all right, let's get to the midseason awards. We get out of here. Mm-hmm. Your biggest surprise, Mr. Hrinya. Who's your biggest surprise this year in the NBA? What team, what player, whatever it may be.
We sort of covered it. I said the Spurs. They were the biggest surprise. I didn't think that they'd be contending for a title this year. So the fact that they are is a nice surprise. I mean, honorable mention. The Suns were really good. The Celtics were really good. As far as teams that I didn't expect to be as dominant as they've been, considering the limitations. But I mean, in terms of the Spurs, they could win a title this year, which I didn't see happening. So full marks to them.
Yeah, mine's the Suns. I didn't think they'd be this good. They're not even a playing team. They're actually literally a top 5-6 team in the West. That's insane to me. That's insane to me that they've gone from the disappointment of Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and whatnot with Booker. They somehow get out of Durant's contract and all that stuff, and now they figure that they have something to build around it now. It's incredible they've done this year so far in 1 year. So Suns my big surprise. Your biggest disappointment this year?
The Knicks, actually. So. Just because, I thought that this was tailor-made for them to cruise to a finals appearance, and now they're just in the mix with a bunch of other teams. An honorable mention, Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, both teams were...
That's mine.
Yeah, both teams should have been 1 and 2, and the fact that they're not, that's pretty disappointing considering the conference is pretty weak.
I have 3 teams I'm looking at here. Obviously, I'm going to go with the Cavaliers because they're way below where I thought they'd be this year, even with injuries. But I think Orlando's in the mix also for that as well for me. Obviously, I said Cleveland. Milwaukee is a massive disappointment for me this year. Massive disappointment for me this season. So, and I look in the Western Conference too. Also, like the Clippers. Well, I would have said Clippers too, also for a while, but they're starting to play a little better now. But yeah, it's Cavaliers, dude. Because again, I had this team winning the most games this year, or certainly right next to OKC, and they're not even close to that. So that was my my most disappointing team this year. All right, rookie of the year.
I have Cooper Flagg.
I do as well. He's settling. He says he has settled in. He has settled in, so he's done a good job there. Your coach of the year,
Joe Mazzulla.
Very good pick. He was number 2 for me. I went bigger staff in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
That I mean, we knew Detroit would be better as they continue to climb this trek, but 32-10, I didn't have one on the board at this point in the year. I didn't see coming.
For me, it was either going to be Mazzulla or Jordan Ott, and I went with Mazzulla just because I feel like, they get Tatum back. Like, you're talking about a team that could go to the final this year. So, I mean, like, given what we expected and what they've done with not only losing Tatum, but, trading off Porzingis and Drew Holiday and plugging them in with Luka Garza and Josh Minot and guys like that, full marks to him for getting them to where they are right now.
This will be a fun one here. 6th man of the year.
I went with Keldon Johnson from the Spurs.
I was split. I was splitting hairs last time. This one, it's between him and Naz Reid.
Oh, okay. My honorable mention was actually Anthony Simons, but I had Keldon Johnson in leaves. I feel like they've been so good that they need to be rewarded somewhere.
And he's sacrificed by going to the bench now too, especially. He's a starting kind of a player. I did go Naz Reid though because it came out just numbers, a little bit of numbers here and there, but it's a neck and neck thing. Like if Keldon Johnson is actually a good answer too. I would have had him also if it wasn't Naz Reid. So this neck and neck.
Yeah.
Defense player of the year. I don't think neck and neck. I think this is pretty easy.
Well, probably not. I went with Chet Holmgren.
I did too.
Oh, okay. I did too. I wasn't sure if you were going to say Wemby, and I was going to say just because of the game played type of stuff.
Exactly why I don't have him in there because the game's played.
Yeah, I had Isaiah Stewart was my honorable mention.
Although if Wemby hears this podcast, he may not like the answer because him and Chet have a one. So and of course MVP. Who do you got MVP?
I have SGA. It's MVP.
I do too. Here's what I'll say though. It is not a runaway. No. It is not a runaway because here's the thing, and this is where wins and losses matter for me when it comes to these awards. If the Thunder continue playing the way they played the last, let's say, month or so, we're losing a couple games here. We're still winning a lot of games. Probably win 60+ still this year because they're really that good. But Detroit continues what they're doing now, and let's say it's on the same pace. Because right now Detroit's on pace for what? To win 62 games, right? So, maybe a little less than that. I might have to get – Cade might be a serious discussion. If Detroit Pistons win between 57 and 62 games this year, Cade Cunningham is a conversation. If the Celtics somehow win mid-50s, which would be tough, but if they win mid-50s, Jaylen Brown's a serious discussion for me. And that may bring down SGA because of the fact that he's the team he has. However, here's why SGA is still the answer. He's doing this without his sidekick for most of the year.
Yeah.
So, if anything, that's where the edge goes. SGA still, even so.
Yeah. No, I mean, SGA for me, was pretty clear. But I mean, you could make the argument for Jaylen Brown. You could make the argument for Cade Cunningham. If Jokic hits the 65 game mark, then we might have a different discussion. I don't know if he will or not, but that's going to be the tricky part there.
Yeah. So SGA it is. So there you go. Hey, we just did a marathon, buddy.
Yeah.
Good job, man. I guess anything else? You can follow him on X at Hrinya NBA. That's GHRINYA on X or whatever we call it. Of course, I am on X as well too at EJapan7. Of course, thanks for listening to the NBA show. We'll come back hopefully next week for another episode. And until then, later.